Hi everyone, and welcome to our patchwork embroidery project of the month. This month we're going to be focusing on the puzzler block. So this is a fun block that can be done two different ways, and it's used creating our puzzler stash buster set from Westalee Design. There's 4 different sizes of the puzzler stash buster set, and it can create an 8-inch finished block, a 4-inch, and a 6-inch finished block. So these are the different sizes that we'll use to cut out the puzzler shapes. And again, it comes in a set of 4. And there are the different sizes. So this one is a 3.5 inch. This one is let's see if I can see that, 4.5 inch. We've got a 2.5 inch, and then I believe this is just a 2-inch. So these are the shapes that they make once you cut out the puzzler shapes. So you can put them, this is a finished 6-inch block. So 3 inches, 3 inches. And what's nice about these tools, they do allow for the seam allowance when you cut it out. So it makes it really easy when you're piecing these together. So this is one way that you can put them together. And again, this is a 6-inch finished block. But then you can also, what's called a heavy puzzler, you can flip them around and put them together this way, and you get a completely different look in the middle. Very, very easy to put together. What I really like, it kind of reminds me of a windmill, I guess. And if you've done piecing and you've ever done like a pinwheel and gotten really frustrated with it because those little points in the middle don't always line up just perfectly, this is a nice variation, which I'll call the windmill, I guess, because it's a little bit of a bigger area in the middle, and you're not trying to get these little teeny points to line up. So I happen to like that because I have a trouble with the traditional pinwheel blocks. So this set is great because, again, you can get 2 different versions of it. And I'll show you some different designs that you can do with it as well before we get started. But this is going to be the puzzler block, and we're going to make a small patchwork project out of this, and then we'll do some embroidery work on it. So here's an example of just a small little quilt project put together, just a small wall hanging with the puzzler blocks and then some Westalee designs mixed in there. So you can use the same color fabric or you can mix it up, but that's just to kind of give you an idea of what it looks like when you lay it out separately in different blocks. I think for today, when we practice it, we're going to go ahead and try to butt the blocks up together and see what kind of pattern we get, but I'll show you some examples of that as well. So here's one example. I apologize for the glare. This is an image I have on my computer, but this is an example of the puzzler block put together with everything kind of butted up together with using the same fabric for the actual puzzler part. And that gives you a really nice repetitive pattern and look for a quilt. So that's one way you can do it. Here's another way where this was put together in a quilt, and you can see over to the side, they were used to do a border as well. So that's a really interesting way to use the stash busters. So they're really versatile. It's a great kit for what you can do with it. And then this is the quilted part in the middle. And I love how she kind of nested the different puzzlers together as she created this. So that's probably a little more intricate one, but a great use of the stash busters. You could also lay them out this way and continue laying them out like this and do a border, or have this be the entire design in your quilt. That's a fun way to use them. And in this example, we have a couple squares in a square and then the puzzler block in the middle. That's kind of fun too. So that's a smaller version. That'd be using the smallest puzzler piece to make that, and then doing your square within a squares. So as you can see, we have lots of options. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. And I think I'm gonna start with the 3.5 inch puzzler, because that's gonna give us our 6 inch finished block. So we're gonna go ahead and get some fabric out and we'll start cutting. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get our fabric cut. And I have chosen the 3.5 inch size of our puzzler, Stash Buster. And a good way to get the correct strips of fabric is we're going to use our Westalee Design adjustable locking ruler. And you know, most of you probably have this and know how to adjust this to get the measurements you want. But a nice trick too is you see how this has the kind of a black stopper here on the bottom of the Stash Buster. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that in here and we're going to use that to line up so we get the correct strip of fabric. So usually I get it on one side, tighten it up just a little bit, move it down over here to the other side, make sure that that is touching and that is touching there. And I'm going to push this up, make sure that's nice and tight. And then I'm going to come back and readjust this one and make sure that it's hitting there and hitting there, and then retighten that. And now I have the exact size for the strip of fabric that I need to cut for this. So I'm going to go ahead and get the strips cut out. Okay, so I have my strips of fabric cut, and to cut out the actual puzzler shapes, it's really nice to use a rotating mat. It makes it really easy. So I'm going to start out, and I have my straight edge right here. I'm going to butt up the black guide right to the end of that, and just do my cut, and there we go. And then I can just move my mat around, I guess whichever way you want to move your mat around, and do the next one. So I got my two straight edges there. Probably making this more difficult than it needs to be, but if you do have a rotating mat, this is kind of nice. And there you go. And we're just going to keep doing that till I get all of them cut out, and then I will be back with you guys. Okay, so I wanted to let you know on the Puzzler Stash Busters where it says 3.5 inch strips. So that is the width of strips of fabric that you're going to be cutting. That is going to work perfectly with this size of the Stash Buster. So I went ahead and got 4. I made a total of 4 to start with. It'll make 4 squares, 4 6-inch squares. And then I got my contrasting fabrics here. I went ahead with I've had this layer cake for a while, and it's just a bunch of floral patterns that I thought would look good with the mustard yellow. So I've got 4 different colors cut out because we're gonna start out making 4 6-inch blocks and start there and see how that looks. So I just wanted to let you know what we've got going on next, and then how to also determine what size strips of fabric you would need to cut to have this fit perfectly and you're not wasting a bunch of fabric. So that is what we've got going on. Next, we're going to be at the sewing machine and we're going to start piecing these together, and I'll show how easy that will be. All right, so we are at the sewing machine, and I hope everybody can see okay. But I went ahead and put one together. Just wanted to practice it and make sure everything turned out like it's supposed to. And there you go. It was super easy. It's really nice with the stash busters, if I can ever say that right, to have the notched ends so that everything kind of lines up perfectly. I think the most difficult part is just making sure you know, you're sewing the two right ones together. I get messed up on that all the time as well. So I have to do things in sections. Otherwise, I end up doing something backwards and upside down. But it creates a perfect little, I'm going to call it the windmill. And we're just going to be making a bunch of those to start for our pattern. I'm not quite sure how many I want to make yet. That's another nice thing about a lot of these Stash Buster blocks and piecing blocks is that you can make a big project or make a small project. Just it kind of just depends on what you're going for. I tend to do a lot of smaller projects just because I have a smaller sewing room and I don't have a lot of space, and I'm not very good, so I'm still learning, and I feel like I like to complete a project. So the smaller ones, I feel like I actually get something done, where if it's too big of a project, it tends to linger, and then I lose interest, and then I don't finish it, or I don't know, a bunch of other things. So let's get started. So I've picked my next contrasting fabric. So what we're gonna do is, this is gonna be my base color. So I'm gonna take one of those and I'm gonna take the other one, and it's gonna be right side down and flipped around. So you can see how that little squared off notch lines up right there, and that one lines up there, and it's perfect. If you're a pinner, pin away. It's kind of a small piece, so I wasn't pinning them, but if you're more of a precise person than me, feel free to pin, but I am just gonna line those up. And I've got my 1/4 inch foot on, and I'm just gonna go ahead and sew my seam. I don't know if any of you have this 1/4 inch foot, which has a guide on it. I really like that because it helps me keep everything nice and even. It's a really handy foot. And then what I've been doing as well is, and I guess you could chain do these too. You could line a whole bunch up and do them all together, which I might do later, but as I'm showing you this first few. And I just kind of finger press them when I get done before I take them over to the iron. So I'm going to do in batches of 4. Just get that finger press. That way I make sure they're all kind of going the same way with the seam too, and then get started on my next one. And they're that easy. Like I said, I think the most difficult thing is just making sure you're flipping them and sewing them the right way. And other than that, they just line up so easy. It's a great block. I really, really like this block. It's very forgiving, which is nice too if you're new to piecing and you get a little frustrated because things don't always line up and you don't have that perfect middle section. This is a very forgiving design, so that is another reason why I like it. It's doesn't show all your mistakes if you're just kind of starting out and you haven't got all the tips and tricks down yet, or anyways, it goes together pretty good. So I'm going to finish this block, and then I'll keep you posted as I'm sewing the pieces together. I've got this one and one more to do, and then I'll go over there and iron them, and then I'll show you how I'm putting them together. Okay, so I have these ironed and pressed, I guess, and now I've put 2 sections together. So I laid it out like it's gonna be when it's all done. I'm just putting those together, and I'm gonna go ahead and sew my 1/4 inch seam on that, and same thing with this bottom one, and I'm just gonna do one after another. And let me get sure it's all lined up here. And we're just gonna sew these together. Make sure that's still lined up down there. All right, I've got my other one. Here we go. Gonna line that up. Okay, so now I'm going to go press these and then put these 2 together, and we will have our finished block. All right, so I have these 2 pressed, and I did the press them in the opposite direction. That way I get a nice nest right here in the middle. So that's what I'm going to line up first, just to make sure I've got that nice and tight. And then I'll kind of get my top up here and hold that in place while I'm holding that. And then as I get started, I will work my way down and make sure everything stays lined up. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to stop there and just recheck that again. Yep, make sure that's nested in there really nice and neat. For some reason this fabric is a very frays quite a bit. It's a really pretty fabric, and I don't remember now what brand it is or who the manufacturer is. It's really pretty, but it does fray when you're cutting it quite a bit. I don't know, do you guys run into that a lot where you get fabrics that fray more than others? So I'm going to press that, just finger press that open. And there you go. Voila. It's a great, simple, easy block. And when you get a lot of them put together, it looks really good. Like some of those pictures I showed you when we started. And there's so many variations you can do as far as with the colors and get a different look. So we're going to keep moving on with this, and I'll keep you updated on the blocks as I get them done. I'm going to finish 4, set of 4, and then we'll look at the different layouts that we can do. All right. Okay, we're back. We have all 4 blocks done. Now I'm going to square them up, and you can use a variety of rulers to square up. I could use the adjustable ruler I was using before, but I already have that lined up to cut my strips. So I'm going to use this handy little guy. Our adjustable rulers come in lots of different sizes, and sometimes it's nice to have the smaller ones on hand too. It still has our 60-degree and 45-degree lines on it. This is a 7-inch one, and I'm going to use it to square up my blocks. So they're going to be 6-inch blocks. So what I did is half a 6-inch, obviously it's 3-inch. So I set mine to my 3-inch line, and then what I'm going to do is line my block up so it's kind of nice and straight. And I'm going to put that black guide, which is at 3 inches, right down the middle of my block. And I'm going to do that all the way around, and that will give me the exact same dimension all the way around, and square this up to be 6 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Turn it this way. Line that up again, right on that guide, right down the middle of my block. And like I said, there's a lot of different tools out there. We have our new squared up ruler as well that you can use. I just like this method, so I guess it's kind of a personal preference to what you want to use. I like, especially when you have a block that kind of has a center point that you can use to line it up. And I think one more turn and we'll have had all those sides adjusted so that everything should be nice and even. I need a new cutting mat. This one's got so many scrapes and holes and stuff in it. There we go. So I'm going to do that on all 4 blocks, and we're going to lay them out. Okay, so there are our 4 blocks all squared up. What do you think? Kind of nice to see a pattern taking shape, and we'll keep building on that and see how it looks as we keep going. I was trying to decide how many I wanted to do. I think I might do 12. I think might be a good size. So 6 one way and 6 the other way. That'd be 12. I know, we'll see. But anyways, that is what they look like. Super easy. And we're going to keep going and see how this looks as I keep adding more colors and keep building on the pattern. I'll keep you updated. All right, so look what I have gotten done. I ended up doing 20 of them so far. So I think I'm going to stop at 20 for this particular class. But this is how I have them all laid out. And it's kind of an illusion because when you get, the more that you get, the more you start seeing this one as well. And so it's whatever your eye focuses on, I guess. Sometimes I'm seeing this one, and then sometimes I see the ones with the actual floral pattern. But this is what it looks like with 20 of them put together. So I think I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to start putting the rows together. And we'll do that next. And then after we get all the rows put together, we'll start looking at what we're going to do for the border. So I'm going to just start at the top, and I think I'm going to put my rows together going across probably. Anyways, we're going to get started on that next, but I wanted you guys to see how it looks with about 26-inch blocks put together. Okay, so here's an update. I have my rows sewn together. So I ended up going this way first. And honestly, I don't know if there's a right or wrong way. Maybe there is. I don't really know. But yeah, so I got the rows sewed this way together. And I was just going to say too, if we didn't want to put it all together, I was thinking that this would be a fun pattern too. You could always put some sashing or a border strip in between each of these. I think for this project though, I'm gonna put them all together, but that's something you could do too to kind of give it a different look. So anyways, I'm gonna start now putting the rows together this way and see what it looks like when it's all done. All right, we're back. So I have this, I've got quite a lot done that I'm going to go over with you guys, but I did get all of this pieced together. So that's what it looks like right now. And it's kind of nice depending on what you focus on. Sometimes if you focus on this, you kind of see just the solid color of the windmill. And then, or you can focus on the actual pattern of the floral that I put in there. But that is it all pieced together. Sorry, I had it all folded up, so it's a little all wrinkly. Well, and then next I'm going to show you what we're going to be doing for the borders around the outside. So if you remember at the beginning, I showed you a picture how she used the Puzzler Stash Buster to do the border as well. So we're going to do a little bit of that. I'm going to show that to you next. Okay, so this is what I have got done. So I am not completely finished. I left a section so that I could film that and show you how to do a portion of it, but I wanted to show you what it looks like with the border put on. And there's lots of ways you can do it based on the colors you choose, but I went ahead and just picked something that was a little bit neutral. I just picked up on the color, my main color here. And so what you're going to do is you're just going to be stacking them, and you're going to be creating like just one half of that windmill section that we put together, a 6-inch block, and then just a solid block you're going to be attaching to it as you just build your border all the way up. And then when you get to the corner, you can use a solid color, or again, you know, whatever color scheme you've got going on, to kind of anchor it. And then this is how they're going to turn the corner and keep going down, turn the corner. We're going to go back up. So I'm going to show you how to put that together. Again, it's really easy. It's very simple. You're going to be making the same thing that you did with the 6-inch block. We're just doing one of those, and then we're just going to be stacking them vertically with a solid block on the side to make the border. So anyways, that's kind of what it's looking like right now. And I'll go to the sewing machine and kind of show you how I put those together. It is a little tricky. I did not start with the corner. So I just started making my rows here. And then what it ended up happening, you see how you have the wide end to the skinny, to the skinny, to the wide. Well, I got down here, and to get this to look like this and to kind of match the pattern that we looked at, you have to have the two wide ends meet up right here. And if you don't, you can't really fix it because then everything else is off. I guess you can fix it. I had to take it all apart and redo it. You can leave it the other way, but it does make this like a different shape. It looks a lot different. I don't think it looks as good in my mind. So you kind of want to start at the corner so you have these two facing the right way. So when you're building on them, you start building it out the right way. Otherwise, you kind of get to here and you might not have these facing the right way. So I would do your first 6-inch corner block, which is going to consist of 2 of those, and then your kind of your anchor square, and then your square that's part of the border. So it'd be just like this 4-inch block would be your corners before you started building this way or building that way. Anyways, I wanted you guys to see what it looked like. So let's get started. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about building our borders. So what you're going to need for your borders are your 3.5-inch squares. So if you recall, we cut our fabric into 3.5 inches. We set our adjustable ruler to 3.5 inches to cut our strips, which was perfect for the stash buster size that we're using. So we're still going to use that same size. So we're going to have 3.5-inch blocks. And that's what's going to make our border, as well as the solid corners of our borders as well. So you're going to want 3.5 inches. You're going to want 4 3.5-inch squares of whatever you want to use as your cornerstone of your corner. And then for the rest of the blocks for the border, you're going to have 3.5 inches as well. The next thing that we're going to want to have is, because of how we're putting these together, you want to make sure you're going to have equal of them going one way and then going the other way. And that's how we're going to have to build them together. So the easiest way to do that, I found, was just to take my 3.5-inch strip of fabric, fold it in half, and when using my stash buster and I cut this out, I automatically get one going this way and one going the other way. And I did that with all of my fabrics. So for the floral that I used, I did that as well. So I just went ahead and got this cut in advance and cut enough to go one way, the other way, both of those. So then as we're putting together the border, which I'll show you right here, you already have those cut and ready to go. So for each one, you'll need one of each because of how we're stacking them together. And I did them in sections of the 4-inch or 6-inch, I'm sorry, four squares, which comes to be a 6-inch block. So I did them in the sections of 4. So I just did obviously one of those, put this part together, put this part together, made my block of 4 6-inch, and then did my next one and kept putting them together. Now, when you get to the corner, again, that's where you want to make sure that as you're building this, you want the wide end to meet up with your block that's going to be the cornerstone of your corner. You want the wide end on both of these fabrics or contrasting fabric to butt up like that. And that's what gives you that nice little corner design right there. So that is a set as well, a 6-inch block right there. And like I said, I kind of start with the corner. So get this part built first, and then you can easily keep building on that for the length of your project, depending on how big you're going to do it, until you get to your next corner. And then you're just going to turn the corner and do the same thing. So really easy to build on. So I'm almost done. What I'm going to do now is continue on right here. This is the corner, the bottom right there, if you guys can see that. So this is the corner, and I'm going to keep building. I've got 2 more sections that I need to do, 2 more 6-inch blocks that I'm going to add on to that, and that will get me to my next corner, which will be my final corner. I'll put that together, and then we'll be done. So for now, if you haven't, go ahead and get your fabric cut out, and make sure again you have them going both directions, because you'll need them as you're putting them together. And then I usually keep the previous one in front of me to make sure that as I'm building it, you're building it the right way. It's really easy to get them backwards or confused, which I've done numerous times. So I finally just decided to keep it in front of me as I'm doing it. So that way I can look and I can just be like, oh, okay, yeah, so I need this one now to go this way. Then let's see. Yeah, so that's going to be the next one. It's going to go like that. You're going to be popping in your solid, your other 3.5-inch block right there, and you can just keep building them as you're going. So that's a really easy way to do that. That's what I'm going to continue to do, and I'll show you it when I get that next part done. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how to put together the corner just one more time. So this is what I've got done so far. It's almost done. So started building the corner down here. I haven't actually pieced this part together yet because I'm still building this run, but I've got it coming all the way down. And so you remember how I was talking to you about the 6-inch blocks. So we have 4 of the units that make up a 6-inch block. So that's how I was starting. You start with your corner, and then you can do another 4-unit 6-inch block, another 4-unit 6-inch block, another 4-unit 6-inch block. Well, depending on how big you make that, will determine how many of those you need to do. With how many of these I made, what ended up happening is my last one ended up being 3. So I had to add one more right here before I got to my corner. So this is the last corner. So you're going to have your one solid 3.5-inch block, which is going to be, I'm just calling it the cornerstone of the corner. And then you're going to obviously build off of this. So you're going to have one of these and one of these, which is going to make that unit right here. I'm going to have another 3.5-inch block right there. And then again, finish this one right here. So I'm going to piece all of this together, piece that together, come back, and I'm going to have my 4-unit put together, and I'm going to square that up into a 6-inch block again, and then I'll be able to join that to this, and then I'll be able to complete this entire run. And that will be done with our piecing. So I'm going to go do that, and then I'll be back. There you go. It's all pieced together. So next step is to just add it to this row and then get it pieced to the rest of the quilt top. We're good to go. We're going to do that next. Okay, I wanted you guys to see this all completed. So I've got it all pieced together, and that is what the border looks like. Sorry about changing my video. There you go. And that is a project. So overall, this measures about 34 by 40. So 34 in the width and about 40 in the length. So it's a nice size project. It could be used as a table runner or just a small throw or whatever you guys wanted to use it as. But we're going to start the embroidery next. I just wanted you guys to see what it looked like now that it's all done. Fun little project. Hi everybody, I'm back and we have finished this project. So I didn't really film the embroidery part of it. I'll show you a couple snippets of it, but I was doing something new that I've never done before, and this is one of our new sampler set edge-to-edge embroidery designs. So it's just a repeated design and you just keep hooping it multiple times, you line it up, and it gives you just an all-over edge-to-edge quilt design. So I just used a neutral thread. I didn't want the embroidery to like completely pop out and take away from all the piecing and the design. So when you get up here, you can see it stand out on the border, but it doesn't take away from the piecing either. So I thought it fit really nicely. It was a bit difficult because I've never done an edge-to-edge embroidery design before, which is one of the reasons I didn't film it, because I didn't really know what I was doing. And it was a little difficult at first to kind of get it all figured out. But in the end, I think it turned out really nice. So I will show you a couple snippets of the embroidery portion of this, but you can obviously finish your top with any of our embroidery designs. I think there's a lot of them that would look really good. Or if you're brave and you want to try one of our new edge-to-edge designs, they're a lot of fun. They can be a little cumbersome, I think, getting your quilt in a hoop and getting things lined up. But then once you get it down, it was really easy and it went really fast. And like I said, it does give you this nice overall quilt design, which is a fun way to finish your quilt tops versus we tend to focus on just like one main design, a flower design or a mandala or something like that, where this is just a nice finished quilt design all over the quilt. So anyways, I'll show you a couple snippets of that and some links to this embroidery design if you do want to try it. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the project and you can get a lot of use again out of the Puzzler Stash Buster set. It's a fun one to have, and I'll throw a link in there too on the binding video that I use to do my binding. There's a gal that does a great binding video on YouTube and super easy to watch. It's a great video. It's very step-by-step if you're new to binding as well, and I'll throw a link in that so you guys can look at that as well. But anyways, I just wanted you to see the final results. Anyways, hope you like it.